Hey guys, Vale here, and today we're bringing you a video about 5 of the easiest bot laners to play in League of Legends. Now, this will probably cause a little bit of a debate, as different players will have their own easiest champions to play depending on what their playstyles are and what kind of champions that they gel with, but across the board, in our opinion, these are the easiest 5. So let's kick it all off with Ashe. Now, Ashe is one of the OG AD carries. I mean, I remember learning this champion when I was learning the game all the way back in Season 1. And yes, I've played this game for that long. It makes me feel very old. So Ashe kind of brings a really solid playstyle to the table in the bot lane. She's pretty much the basic AD carry. She's heavily focused on auto-attacking, especially so with her Q, and firing off her W to harass her opponents and keep them slow to kite or to chase down and kill. Ashe's E is actually really useful as well. You can throw it out whenever you have a charge up, and it allows you to basically keep track of the enemy jungler and keep yourself in the loop as to if you're safe to farm and trade without too much risk of being ganked. Ashe's ultimate is a little bit harder to hit, but it's so much fun to use, and it's a very simple concept. A super long skill shot that stuns for longer, the further distance is travelled. So why is Ashe on this list? Well, her playstyle is purely revolved around auto-attacking, building up her Q and kiting with it, poking with her W, and either engaging or defending herself with her ultimate. She's super easy to lane on. Farm up as normal, poke your enemies down with your W, and if you get into any prolonged fights, get your Q active and start bursting your enemies down. Whether you're ahead or not, your ultimate will always be useful. If you're never fighting in lane, why not base and then throw an arrow down the mid lane to get a chance of taking out the enemy mid laner and setting up a teammate to carry instead. If your teammate is coming in to gank your lane but you feel a little bit too weak or a bit too low to contribute, all you have to do is throw out a good ultimate and you're way more useful than you thought with little to no risk whatsoever. Now, don't get me wrong, the higher elo you get, the more you're going to get punished for playing Ashe, as she has no mobility, literally nothing aside from her slows. So high elo players will capitalise on this by camping her and picking aggressive gap closing champions that she will have a very tough time against. However, when it comes down to the basics and learning this champion quickly, she's super straightforward, and that's the reason she makes this list. Next up, we've got Sivir. So Sivir is arguably the strongest marksman to pick up when you're apprehensive on your ability to play this role. Sivir will be amazingly useful whether you int or not due to her teamfight winning ultimate. Sivir's ultimate is undoubtedly one of the best utility ultimates for any bot lane carry. The movement speed it grants can easily make or break a teamfight by helping you and your teammates start a fight, or by disengaging and getting out of danger pretty easily. So there's a huge reason already why you should pick up Sivir. But why is she so easy to play and why is she on this list? Well, Sivir's kit is really simple. She farms and clears waves easily with her Q and her W, both of which are simultaneously easy to use and very straightforward. Wave clearing with these makes you very hard to dive as well, as you can just obliterate the minion waves before your enemies have a chance to capitalise on it. Sivir's spell shield also gives her another element of safety, arguably one of the best self-defensive abilities on any marksman. This ability is again very simple to use, however it does require a bit of a knack to get used to the timing, especially when facing certain abilities. So now you know why Sivir is really strong, and you can already see why she's also pretty simple. She's definitely one of the safest AD carries in the game. You get in lane, you're going to farm up, wave clear with your Q and W, avoid any danger with your spell shield, and then use your ultimate whenever you get ganks from either jungler. Sivir is definitely a marksman to have in your AD carry arsenal, especially if you're new to the role and want a really useful pick with utility to whack out in that next Clash tournament. The next champion on this list is Kaitlyn. Now before we go into why she's on this list, we do want to point out that Kaitlyn does have a very high skill ceiling. The possibilities of this champion when mastered are pretty awesome. She has tons of animation cancelling combos and mechanics that can be immense in the right hands. However, when it comes down to picking up and learning this champion, she's very basic in her playstyle and her fundamentals. So Kaitlyn is actually one of the strongest marksmen when it comes to bullying lanes. She has a very long auto-attack range, and due to her headshot passive, she can poke and shove enemies back as soon as the lane begins. Kaitlyn's Q is relatively easy to land and deal some decent damage, especially if it doesn't collide with any minions or any other champions before hitting her main target. Kaitlyn's traps allow her to control lanes and pick up empowered auto-attacks and headshots, and her E is a semi-decent escape tool which can be used pretty effectively to dodge incoming trades and abilities. Kaitlyn's ultimate is super fun too. It's a great way to contribute to fights when you're a touch too far away or just to finish off escaping enemies on low health. So Kaitlyn's abilities and playstyle are pretty basic, and she's one of the most effective when she's in control of the lane, bullying her enemies and getting a lead in experience and gold by forcing her enemies to recall or simply just killing them instead. Kaitlyn snowballs super hard too, and she has a lot of fun with a few early kills deleting her foes from insanely far away. I'd say Kaitlyn's most common issue that you may find when learning her is just how easy it is to permanently push and poke your enemies. Due to her being so oppressive in lane, it's kinda easy to forget about the rest of the map when you're having so much fun auto-attacking that poor Vayne to death that you may leave yourself and your support open to ganks and roams from the rest of the enemy team. If you keep that in mind though when learning this champion and try to keep the waves in the lane in the right place, you'll have a super fun experience when playing Kaitlyn right from that very first game you pick her up. Now we're going to talk about Ziggs, and despite not being an AD carry, he's really been popular in the bot lane this season for a very good reason. Ziggs is one of the best wave clearing champions to pick down bot, and he's really hard to dive too, allowing his support to roam and influence the rest of the map while he just kicks back and farms for hours. Now Ziggs is super straightforward. His whole kit is basically just artillery poke damage with the exception of his W, which is his main form of self-peel and mobility. It's also used to combo enemies and push them into his other abilities, but that's a bit more complex. To play Ziggs, you genuinely just need to face smash your keyboard constantly throughout the game and sit as far back as you can as long as you're close enough to contribute. You want to time your ultimate around your teammates' engage and crowd control, and it becomes pretty hard to miss. Now, yes, you could argue that Ziggs' abilities are all skill shots, so that makes him hard to play, but just because of how basic his playstyle is, it makes him very straightforward to pick up and learn. Just remember when you are playing Ziggs, it's usually better to pair him with a support that has some decent peel and set up crowd control. These really help Ziggs set up his damage and prevent him from being picked off, rather than an enchanter support who is usually focused on buffing and peeling for an AD based marksman. Once you've got used to Ziggs' ability ranges and travel times, this champion is very simple and also a ton of fun. Last on the list we've got Misfortune, and she is easily the most basic marksman when it comes down to how easy it is to be effective on her, mainly just because of how game changing her ultimate is. It does take a little bit of getting used to working out how best to use her double up effectively, and that is basically all you need to know as the rest of her kit is very simple. And she's insanely easy to farm with due to her love passive slapping those minions down. Misfortune's laning is very straightforward and it's relatively easy to win trades with just your E and Q and an auto attack or two. As soon as you hit level 6, it comes down to if you can abuse just how potent your ultimate is. Try and line it up with your support's crowd control and it's very hard to miss, especially if your support is someone who can chain CC like a Leona for example. Throughout the game, Misfortune will always be effective due to her ultimate simply being so powerful. It is genuinely game winning, and especially if you get a few kills early game and start snowballing, the damage it deals just gets better and better. If you do fall really far behind on Misfortune, then yes, this may not deal an insane amount of damage and therefore make you feel a little bit useless. But honestly, due to the champion's strengths in lane and as a whole, it's very unlikely you'll actually fall behind early, unless you heavily misplay or get punished hard by the enemy team. This champ is very low risk, very high reward. Farm up, get a few kills along the way if you can, get to level 6 and then destroy the game with your ultimate. There is not a lot of things in life that are more fun than a perfect wombo combo. And Misfortune is definitely someone who thrives off team comps that can offer that. If you're looking for an amazing pickup to play with your friends in those big teamfight comps that's pretty easy to learn and simple to play, Misfortune is definitely someone you should consider. So that's going to conclude our 5 easiest bot laners to play in League of Legends. We really hope you enjoyed it and let us know what you'd like to see next from us so we can work on getting these videos out for you that you really enjoy. That's it from us guys, and as always, take care.